when this happened, this little old man that was across the table from me, we joined hands, and he prayed for me, and he prayed the sweetest prayer. And something, Connie, happened in me right then. He was praying for me. I knew that something had changed. When I left there, I bought the paperback book because I didn't intend on going back to that church. It was weird. Not as much as the other one, but it was a little weird for me. And so I read the book in a couple days.
Yeah.
I just went all through it and dog-eared, and I'd call Nancy. She was at school, and I'd tell her what I was reading. And God was supernaturally renewing my heart. And I flushed the cocaine down the toilet one day. I had about $500 worth of coke. Flushed it down the toilet just all of a sudden. I was thinking, what am I doing? I've got this girl. She's wonderful. I'm killing myself.
Hi, I'm Connie Cenac. Welcome to my corner of the world, Connie's Corner. I'm glad you could join us today because in our studio today I have Tim Lovelace, a man of God of the highest stature. He is the founder and CEO of GloDev, which is an international organization that helps people, missionaries and other people, establish community, just helping people from the bootstraps up. And they have here in town a place called Eden Gardens, and it truly is a little piece of Eden. And so I'm so glad you're here to join with us with this amazing man of God. Thanks for being here, Tim. Do I make you feel good?
Yeah, thank you, Connie.
I got to brag on you.
Sometimes it's hard to receive all those accolades.
I know, but really, God just takes people from nowhere, and he takes them out of this pit. I know what he did with me. And he has you doing things you never dreamed you'd ever be doing. Like I'm sitting here and we're talking about the things that God has done in our lives.
That's true. That's very true.
And I know your story partly because I interviewed your beautiful wife, Nancy Lovelace, and your testimony is quite exciting, quite amazing, actually. And I want you to tell everybody else about it. Okay. So, were you born into a Christian home? Let's start there.
Actually, I was. My mother had dreams of being a missionary from a child, and she grew up on a farm. Had one cow that she milked every day before school. You know, it's back in the day, and she was in the Baptist church and was in the women's groups and all the different things that went on there. And we went to church as a family. My dad was not a Christian at the time, but you know, his mom and dad were, so they influenced him. But we kind of fell out of the church because of an incident early on. I guess I was about 10 or so at the time when the pastor committed suicide.
Oh my gosh!
He was a closet alcoholic. His wife didn't even know he drank.
Oh no!
I don't even know how it's possible, but his teenage daughter found him in the living room floor with a gun still in his hand.
Oh my gosh,
and so
what a tragedy.
I'll never forget that day, Sunday, when they told the church about what had happened. On the way home that day, my dad said, well, if the pastor can't deal with it, then what chance
what hope do we have?
Right.
And that's why the Bible tells us to pray for those in authority, because we all have a big target on our back.
Yeah,
I think
especially ministers.
Absolutely. I know my husband and I certainly do. Yeah. We've been shot up so much.
That's true, and people tend to judge what they don't understand.
No.
And so I learned a lot through that. You know, I was young. I was in RAs, you know, at that church. And then wasn't too long after that, one of my dad's close friends invited us to the Presbyterian church.
Of all things.
Yeah. And,
okay, you went from the once saved, always saved to you were chosen.
Exactly.
You're chosen to go to heaven, and
you
he's
can do
not.
anything you want because it's all predestined.
It's all predestination.
Well,
okay,
then, not too long after that pastor ran off with the secretary.
Oh my gosh.
So then we were done with church, basically.
I can understand that.
You know, that there was no more church after that. And so for me, growing up in all that, and that was my church experience at that time, it put a bad taste in my mouth too, you know, growing up. And so when I reached the age of about 24, after going through a time of drugs and, you know, seeing friends die of overdose and drinking a lot, you know, I used to do a lot of cocaine. I had to drink liquor to come down off, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bad time in my life.
With all the mess up in my life, I never did all that.
I mean,
Thank God.
It was a party life. I went to college because my parents wanted me to. I had no desire to go to college. I went to snow ski.
Yeah.
Because I had a ski team.
Where'd you go to school?
Lee's McRae up in Banner Elk.
Is that North Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Between Sugar
Honey,
Mountain
if I
and
wanted
Beach
to
Mountain.
ski, I'd be out in Colorado.
Well, that's real skiing.
I know.
Yeah, we just practiced.
Yeah, I know, really.
And so,
But yeah, I got to say this. If you could ski on the East Coast, you're going to be a major, awesome skier on the West Coast because the snow is so horrible
I've been
here.
out west once.
Oh, my.
To Denver. And,
Well,
you and I
we
talked
used
about
to
it.
have a home out there, and I tell you, those days are over for me. I'm not getting on skis anymore.
Well, I still enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm a little older than you, Tim.
Not too bad.
I'm 75 as of this past
you only got me
weekend.
by about 9.
Yeah, you won't believe it. When you hit 70, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. Well,
Literally
that's the new
speaking.
50, right? That's the new 50.
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't know.
Well, you don't look that old.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely don't act.
It's called makeup. Makeup and color your hair.
But that was kind of my beginning. Didn't know Jesus. Had a lot of confusion
I bet.
about the church. But I met Nancy
I know.
in a barbecue restaurant. She told you that.
She told me the story, but they may not have heard it. So
well, my best
tell
friend
your
at the
side
time-
of the story.
I will.
Okay.
My best friend at the time, he and I lived together. Right out of college, I got kicked out of college. But
Oh no.
anyway, no college degree still.
Oh, that's okay. I think
didn't
it's
like
overrated, to be honest. I got a college degree, and I needed it for my degree.
He and I were real close, best friends in high school, and it continued. And I was managing my dad's sporting goods store at the time, and still doing coke and all that.
Oh my gosh.
Met Nancy at the barbecue restaurant. I saw her the first day, and then the next day I took my best friend with me. I said, I want you to meet this girl. I think she's the one. He goes, you what? How do you think she's the one? I said, I don't know. I just have that feeling.
Wow.
I don't even know her. You know, we hadn't even met officially.
Yeah.
So that day I sat in her section and asked her for her phone number and called her house that afternoon after I got home and talked to her dad. Well, her dad was a real safety guy, and he was very protective over Nancy. And I didn't know how old she was because she's working in a restaurant. I think she's old enough to date. I was 22 at the time. So, long story short, we go out on a date.
She was what, 18 or 17?
17.
17. Oh, you better watch out with it.
Well,
You have to be
I
careful
figured
with
it
that.
out. Once I figured it out, we called it off. You know, we quit dating.
Dangerous.
And so a year later, after we stopped dating, we only dated a few times. I was slow to the take because she was very mature for her age. She wasn't like all of her friends. So I didn't know. And then she said she had cheerleading practice. I'm like, well, what college do you go to? And she says, high school, silly. I'm like, oh my goodness. What am I doing? So we stopped.
That's funny.
And after she graduated high school, we ran into each other again.
That's incredible.
It was just an afternoon. She rode by. I was out washing my car. I was in a different place because I had to move. That's a whole nother story for another day.
Yeah.
The DEA was after me.
No way.
Yeah, after my roommate and I. And so I
Okay,
had
so
to, I had to move.
DEA is Drug Enforcement
Yeah, administration,
Administration, something.
They're the
They're
guys that you
chasing
don't
the
want to be
bad
around.
guys. They're chasing you guys.
Well, because we were friends with the biggest drug dealer on the East Coast.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a testimony.
Yeah, that's another story.
Okay.
But he went to prison, we did not. That's the bottom line. God saved us from that situation through another high school friend whose sister I dated once, treated her really nice. he had pity on me. He came to me after at a restaurant. He said, look, we've been watching your house. He said, you need to stop right now. I shouldn't even be talking to you. He said, but if you stop now, we will leave you alone. I called my friend.
Wow.
We stopped. I moved out that day, got me another place to live, and that's where Nancy and I met.
Wow.
So, it's a little short.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah.
But that's God.
It is, and he was sparing me.
Yes, he was.
He had mercy on me.
Yes, he was.
I don't know why, but he did.
Because God is merciful.
He's got a call. He had a call.
Yes, he had a call on your life. He didn't want it messed up.
Yeah. So my Nancy and I started dating again, and she went off to school. We actually got engaged right before she went off to college, to Peace College in Raleigh. She got radically saved. She told that story.
Yes, she did.
I went to fix her because I thought she got into a cult. Telling me all this stuff about, you know, what all had happened to her, and I'm like, that's not the kind of church I went to. And so then she came home to visit, and she wanted to go to this charismatic church, this little church. Well, another girl that I had dated years before that, her grandmother used to preach at that church, and it was what they called a holy roller church. And they really rolled.
Really did.
Yeah.
There are people that do that.
And I knew that. She had invited me to go there one time, and I went, and I'm like, I will never go back to that. It was a real small place, and that's where Nancy wanted to go, but it was different. It was a different church, different pastor. Everything was different, but I wouldn't go. But I would drop her off and come back and pick her up, and I would pull up close to the church, roll the window down to see what was going on, because that's all I knew was what I remember. Well, another time she came back home and from college, and I think it was around Easter. That church that I had taken her to had moved to a school cafeteria or auditorium because they were building a church. And so we went there. First time, I finally went with her, and pastor says, well, tonight's your lucky night, ladies. We're going to take your men back in that back room. We're going to lock the door, and they're going to come out until they're changed by the power of God.
Wow.
And her hand got real tight on my knee, and she said, are you okay? I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, what's the worst they can do, kill me?
Yeah. Well, they did, spiritually.
They showed a video by Edwin Cole called Maximize Manhood. And it just ripped me to the core, because it was talking about how to be Christ-like as a man, as a husband, as a father, and all the things that I didn't know about, all the things that I had no experience with, had never seen before. And we were supposed to pray for one another. Well, I had never prayed for anybody either. I had often cussed people out that came to my door wanting to share Jesus with me. I sent them on their way, and that's kind of where I was at that time. And so very anti-religion, okay, because of my past. And so when this happened, this little old man that was across the table from me, we joined hands, and he prayed for me, and he prayed the sweetest prayer. And something, Connie, happened in me right then. As he was praying for me, I knew that something had changed. When I left there, I bought the paperback book, because I didn't intend on going back to that church. It was weird. Not as much as the other one, but it was a little weird for me. And so I read the book in a couple days.
Yeah.
I just went all through it and dog-eared, and I'd call Nancy. She was at school, and I'd tell her what I was reading. And God was supernaturally renewing
your heart.
My heart. And I flushed the cocaine down the toilet one day. I had about $500 worth of coke. Flushed it down the toilet just all of a sudden. I was thinking, what am I doing? I've got this girl. She's wonderful. I'm killing myself.
Yeah.
I need to do something.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and maybe a month or two later, she was home again. We went to her Baptist church. It was Easter Sunday, And, you know, everybody comes out of the woodwork on Easter Sunday. It's packed. We're in the back because that's where her dad liked to sit. And that morning, I put my best suit, my best tie, and I was going to get saved. Because I had seen it in the Baptist church, and I knew what they did.
Right.
And I knew what I had to do.
Right.
And so when we got to church, there was, you know, the bulletin, the hymn of invitation, and as soon as that hymn of invitation, I made a beeline for the altar. Told the pastor I need Jesus right now.
Praise
And you know what he
God.
said, Connie?
He said what?
He held my hand and he said, "Thank you." And I went back to my pew.
Well,
No introduction, nothing. And they were all like, "What just happened? What did you say?" And I told them what I said, and they said, "Well, why did he not introduce you to the church and set up a water baptism and all that?" I said, "I have no idea, but I got what I
That's
what
all
I
you
went
needed,
for."
honey. You didn't need his permission to get saved.
I knew I got saved.
Amen.
Yeah.
You know, your story is incredible, and I know we want to continue on this path. Can you stay for another show? We'll record another show with you because, I mean, I know that's just the first step in this new life that God had prepared for you and Nancy. And so thank you for being here. And listen, thank you for showing up. We love having you in our little corner of the world. I hope you'll come back because, and if you haven't ever heard of, his wife is Nancy Lovelace, and we interviewed her on 3 different occasions. So her interviews are pretty awesome. You'll love it. So please go back and watch those on YouTube in Connie's Corner. And in the meantime, I pray your life be blessed beyond anything you hope or imagine because Jesus loves you. Bye.
Bye.